Hey, Zach Dobson here with another Friday photo tip. I'm going live today for the second time, so hopefully I've got this figured out how it goes. I get a lot of questions about gear, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about one of my most important cameras that I've been using a lot during this quarantine time. It's my mirrorless Fuji camera. This one's the Fujifilm X-T20. So a few years ago I found there was kind of a gap in my there was a gap in my equipment where I had my phone that I was using for a lot of daily stuff, and then I had my higher end pro gear that I was using for all my client shoots. And I found that I wasn't really taking a lot of pictures on a daily basis because I wasn't always crazy about what I was getting with my phone. So I decided to look for kind of a smaller, compact camera that I could take around with me everywhere. So I decided to go with this Fuji Mirrorless. I've rented them before when I had my gear cleaned and went on vacation, and was really impressed with the functionality and the compact size and everything. So this is a great camera, either if you're an amateur looking for something that gives you a little more control over your phone and getting better quality images in low light, having more custom and manual settings, or being able to switch out your lenses for different effects. And on the other end, if you're an experienced pro, but if you're like me, finding it was too difficult to get your gear out of the bag just to take some snapshots of your kids, or something you saw out the window or in your backyard, this is a great option for that, because I find I can just keep it on top of the fridge or on a shelf and just pick it up in a moment's notice. And I take it in the car with me everywhere I go. And another thing I like about it is because it's so small and pretty discreet. I bought one of the smaller lenses to go on it, so it didn't take up a lot of space. People tend to just think I'm taking snapshots when I'm out on the street, and it doesn't attract as much attention as when I'm carrying my big cameras with the big lenses. And as far as I've been able to tell, I mean, the image quality is really pretty comparable. This one has a little bit smaller of a sensor, but I don't find that to really hinder anything. And I've printed a lot of photos that I've taken on this camera. So I do use this for a lot of professional work too. So like I said, the main benefits being compact size. Some of these cameras have a fixed lens, meaning there's just one lens on the camera, which can work for you. I wanted the one that is interchangeable, so I can, take these off and switch them out for different lenses. My personal favorite that I have is this. It's a 23 millimeter, which this is the equivalent of a 35 on a regular camera. So all that means is, you hear about a full sensor camera. That means the sensor is the exact same size as a frame of 35 millimeter film. So when you have that, the size lens you have is the same as what's written on it. When you have these compact sensors, they're a little bit smaller, so it kind of magnifies the lens because the sensor is smaller than 35 millimeter frame of film. So they're different for different cameras. They're usually 1.5 or sometimes even 2, but this is a 1.5. So a 23 millimeter times 1.5 is, like 34.5 or something. So we'll just say 35. So I like 35 because it's slightly wider than your kind of natural field of vision. You might hear people talk about the standard had always been 50. 50 is kind of what you see, but I looked into it a little bit more, and really what they say scientifically is that if you're looking at it, it's right in between a 35 and a 50. So your vision is more like kind of like a 43 millimeter lens. I like the 35 because it's a little bit wider. I can get up close still, whereas I find with the 50, I have to kind of back up to get the shots that I want, whereas if I just have one lens, I like to have it wider so I can get close. But that's the benefit of having that, interchangeable lens. So, there's newer models of this one now. I'm still really happy with this XT20. I know they have a 30. You can still find 10s available. You can buy used. You can get a lot of good deals. The 20s are just as good. The 10s are very good as well. They have a newer model now. So this model line is somewhere around $900 for the body, and this lens, the 23 f/2, is around $350. So I know a lot of people, especially amateurs, aren't going to drop, you know, $1,300 on a camera. They have a less expensive version of this that you could get the body and the lens for maybe $800. If that's still a little high, I would look at used. If you get it from a reputable place. And I'm a little hesitant to buy from just a random person on eBay, but if you look at B&H out of New York, B&H Photo Video, they have a great used department where they inspect everything, make sure it works really well. Or Robert's Camera, if you're here in the Indianapolis area, you can go right to either their Carmel or downtown locations. They have a great selection. You can check stuff out. Hands-on is always beneficial. And even if you're not in Indy, Robert's has a great, they put everything up online, and it's easy to find their selection and order from them. So those are the two places I recommend. The other one would be is if you just want to try out some gear. I use borrowlenses.com all the time. If you're on my blog, on the sidebar I have a link, and if you use that link, it helps me out because they give me a little bit of a affiliate deal. But I do that with them because I like to use them a lot. They ship the gear right to your door. You can try it out for a few days or a week. You take it on a trip with you and see what you think. And I pretty much always do that before I buy a new piece of gear. So check that out. I mean, you can rent cameras and lenses for less than $100 for a week and try any of the different systems, and it works out really well. So a couple other quick benefits. The mirrorless camera, because it doesn't have that shutter in there opening and closing like a DSLR. Sorry, that's actually this is what I get for going live. It does have the shutter, but what you can do is you can turn it off. That's something you can't do with the DSLR. So forget that part. It does have a shutter, but what's nice about it is you can turn the shutter off, and it has a function called electronic shutter, which means that it uses the sensor as a shutter. What that means functionally for you is that you can take pictures completely silently, which is fantastic for me. I use that feature all the time if I'm in a situation where it's very quiet or I don't want to draw attention to myself. So I turn it on electronic shutter, and then it makes no sound at all, no kind of click or anything, and that's really beneficial. If you get one of these models that also has Wi-Fi, you can connect it to your phone, and you can actually look on your phone and see what you're seeing through the camera, and you can set the exposure on your phone, and you can, you know, fire the shutter on your phone too. So take pictures through your phone, which is great if you want to set it up on a tripod and do like a remote picture with your family or something, or if you want to like mount it somewhere like up high, or be in a spot where you can't necessarily, you know, look through the viewfinder, then that function works really well. Or sometimes if I'm really wanting to be like discreet, instead of, you know, I might just let it hang down at my side, and it just kind of looks like I'm at my phone, and I can take a couple pictures that way if I'm just kind of walking around and not wanting to draw any attention to myself. So every once in a while I'll do that, not very often, but there's a lot of great functions that are specific to this style of camera. So my personal taste is the Fujifilm. A lot of people really like Sony a lot. I've heard good things about Olympus too, so any of those models can work really well. That's where the rental comes in, and give it a try and see what you like. So that's a little bit about gear. I'm going to keep this post up. It's my photo tip for this week. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment, and I'll make sure to answer, because I know I get a lot of questions about gear. So yeah, I think that's about all I have on that. So thanks a lot for stopping by. checking this out this week. If you take any pictures with your mirrorless camera, or you pick up something new and want to share it for me to check out, just leave a hashtag ZDP Photo Challenge and I will check those out. So thanks a lot for stopping by, and keep it real.